Ever since Patrick Mahomes became the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, we never really had to question if the Kansas City Chiefs needed a quarterback. But with the recent announcement of Chad Henne retiring, we're going to enter uncharted territory, and I'm going to give you my top 5 quarterbacks that the Kansas City Chiefs should look for backups for Patrick Mahomes. But before we do get into all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chiefs related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. Now, before we dive into this video and I give you my top 5 quarterbacks that can back up Patrick Mahomes coming into next season, there are 2 things I want to mention before we get into that. If you did catch my last video where I talked about my top 5 underrated players where the Kansas City Chiefs should get this offseason, I did mention Jacoby Brissett in that video. We will not be talking about Jacoby Brissett in this video, not because I don't think he's a good backup for this team, because I really do, but we've already discussed him, so if you want to check that out, please go check out that prior video. This video will be focusing on 5 new guys that I feel can fit the backup role as well. And also, the Kansas City Chiefs did make news, not surprising news, but they did announce their new offensive coordinator, and it will be Matt Nagy, as we all expected. And I see a lot of Chiefs Keenum kind of indifferent, and I kind of want to, I guess, quiet the noise, because I feel like Matt Nagy, he was brought here for that reason, and apparently he was brought here for a bigger role too, to be the future Kansas City Chief head coach. Now, whether that comes to fruition, time will tell. But if you just go back to what Matt Nagy has done with this offense prior, when he was here his first tenure, this offense was clicking on full cylinders. He had Patrick Mahomes, well, his second year, but his first season as a starter, when he threw 50 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt had 1,000 yards, and we had 2 receivers with Tyreek and Kelsey over 1,000 yards. There should be no worry about this offense moving forward. Matt Nagy is a great offensive coordinator. And also, too, he was a really good head coach with the Chicago Bears. I think he gets slight because that team really had to be built from the ground up. He had to work with Mitchell Trubisky with a very few pieces. In his first 2 years, didn't he take them to the playoffs? I know his first year he did. And if it wasn't for a double doink, he could have had them advancing as well. And he had the Bears looking like a really good team. So there was inconsistency with the Chicago Bear tenure, but all the blame doesn't deserve to be on Matt Nagy, because when he first started there, the Chicago Bears were very, very happy to be his coach. Things just turned sour really, really quickly. So I'm not going to predict him being the Chiefs head coach in the future, because as I mentioned in the past, I don't know how long Andy Reid has. He could have 5 years, and that would definitely, I don't see Nagy being an offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs for 5 years. Specifically, if he has the Kansas City Chiefs offense rolling full steam ahead. Someone will hire him so quickly again, and he'll be a head coach for another team. So we'll see what goes forward. But also, now the biggest question mark, what a lot of Chiefs Kingdom has been focusing on, is who's going to be the quarterback coach for the Chiefs moving forward. We got kind of some insight with that. Now, we all had our speculation, whether it would be former players like Alex Smith, Chad Henne, whether it be, I'm drawing a blank, whether it be Cliff Kingsbury coming in. It all was interesting, but a lot of people didn't mention this name, and it looks like the Kansas City Chiefs are looking into a guy like Pep Hamilton, which is a very, very intriguing name. He has coached Andrew Luck in the pros and in college. Last year, he was the OC for the Texans. Again, nothing too crazy. But he has proven he can be a very, very good coach in this league. And definitely as a quarterback coach, with someone who has coached someone like Andrew Luck, to get him on your staff too, would be very, very interesting to see moving forward. I believe we'll have an answer for the quarterback coach probably by the midweek into next week too. And then the coaching staff would be complete, unless we did get more news, unless Eric Bieniemy pouches some guys like Greg Lewis too. That would leave an open position for the running back coach. So things will happen in this coaching line. Things will get pulled. Things will get inserted. I'll keep you up to date on all of that moving forward. But now, we are here to talk about backup quarterbacks. And before I get into my list, I want to focus on the guy who is already the backup quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's Shane Buechele. Because I don't want everyone to think, oh, I'm just basically pushing Shane Buechele away and he shouldn't be the backup quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. No, that's not it whatsoever. I do have questions, though, coming into that is, coming off of last preseason, I wasn't so hyped as what everybody was making Shane Buechele to be. Like, oh my God, he will be this great backup quarterback, which is, your terms, a great backup quarterback, because at the end of the day, in my pure definition is, I don't want to see my backup quarterback out there, but he needs to come in and win games, kind of like what Matt Moore did, kind of like what Chad Henne did coming into a playoff run. That's something that needs to be secured. I did see potential, but I also saw inconsistency. That's something we need to see those loosened nuts tightened during minicamp and training camp as well. So that's why I wanted to put a list of 5 guys together that can basically challenge Buechele, make him better, earn that spot. I don't want him just to be your go-to quarterback number 2 and have him have it, because he's a young kid. What I'm going to be focusing on here, and what the Kansas City Chiefs have proven too, is vet guys. Guys who have had playoff experience and know how to win in the playoffs and know how to win big-time games as well. Because if you put a veteran versus this young guy, you're going to find out what Shane Buechele's all about. And that's what I really want to tie down and focus on in this video. So let's cut the chat and let's get down to the list. So the first guy we're going to discuss, again, these are not going to be sexy names. These are not going to be names where you want to have the Kansas City Chiefs starting for a full 17 games. Again, if the Kansas City Chiefs are in that predicament, it's probably going to be a hard scenario to come out. Of course, you got Coach Reid, and knock on wood, hopefully there's wood on this wall somewhere, Mahomes doesn't get injured, but I know Coach Reid will put the best team forward in any kind of circumstances. So the first guy we're going to discuss here is Joe Flacco. He has proven he can be a winner in this league. Yes, he has been inconsistent, but he has shown times where he can be great. And I think he is a great backup quarterback to where if you needed him to fill in for 1 game or 2 games, he will win those games for you. He has shown he's actually put up good stats with the Jets as a backup quarterback and probably played more than he needed to with the Jets as well. Also, I think it fits the perfect description of what the Kansas City Chiefs look for in a backup quarterback. They look for the guys that are over 30 years old, even 35 years old. Former high school coaches coming out and just can fill in. Joe Flacco is 38. He has proven he can win in the playoffs. He has a Super Bowl ring to his name. Yes, it may have been a while ago, but he has that experience. And that's something you need too, because as I mentioned in my prior video, we've had unfortunate timing with Patrick Mahomes' injuries where he has got hurt in the playoffs. And we needed Chad Henne to step in and win a game. Backup quarterback may not be a huge role as much most people expect. We may not need it throughout the whole season. But when it comes to playoff time or that one crucial week where something happens, you need him. And it becomes very pivotal. And a guy like Joe Flacco can step in and Coach Reid can basically have a game plan around him to where not much changes whatsoever, specifically with the weapons around him, and see what moves forward. Again, a lot of people may not be intrigued by the name Joe Flacco. He's not going to cost high money either. That's another thing I want to mention in these videos as well. I'm not going to look out for the guys like, Taylor Heineke, Andy Dalton, because they do have a chance of being starters in this league. Even a Sam Darnold, they might have a chance to be a starter next year as well. So they'll command higher dollars than your typical backup quarterback. I'm going to focus on guys who are low value, where the Chiefs don't have to spend a lot of money, but you can put them in 1 week and they can win you a game. And I think that's the true definition of what Joe Flacco is at this point of his career. Another wily vet, and that's going to be the theme of this video, is Case Keenum. Right now, the backup quarterback for the Buffalo Bills last year. He's going to be a free agent, and he's basically bounced around the league as well. He's your journeyman. That's what a lot of these backup quarterbacks are about. But he has playoff experience as well with the Minnesota Vikings. He has won big games, specifically the one, the Minnesota Miracle with Stephon Diggs. He was the one who got them to the NFC Championship game. He's had also some very amazing years that a lot of us didn't expect out of him either. He was one of those guys that was drafted by the Texans very late, got to play for him, and then just bounced around the league. But no matter where he's went, he has shown his value too. And I think he would be a good piece for the Kansas City Chiefs to where, hey, again, I hate talking about this type of video because it would all come down to if Patrick Mahomes wasn't healthy. And we hope that he will stay healthy throughout his whole seasons, his career, and that he never gets hurt. But we also got to look at reality too, because he has been hurt, is who could step in and fill in. And guys like a Joe Flacco and a Case Keenum would be perfect examples to where they can also be mentors because they've been in the league long enough to where Patrick Mahomes can pick their brains as well. And that's what it all comes down to, is bettering Patrick Mahomes, but also having security that your season won't be in jeopardy if something happens to him as well. And I think Case Keenum fits that role perfectly. Now, we're going to go to a familiar face, but we're going to go to the one that basically makes all the backup quarterbacks rich, and he has dignified his whole career off of it and made most of his life earnings. Probably got paid more than most players in their career as a backup quarterback and barely taken snaps. And he's also been a Kansas City Chiefs backup quarterback, and it is no other than Chase Daniel. I think he would be a perfect fit for the fact he knows the system. He was a backup to Alex Smith when Alex Smith first started his Kansas City tenure and when Coach Reid first came into the Chiefs organization. You could bring him back, and I know, like I said, he's made a lot of money as a backup quarterback, but I don't think his dollar signs are as big as what they once were either, so you can maybe bring him in on a cheaper deal too. He is a free agent. He is leaving the Chargers, but it feels like, man, he's played for almost every organization. I got to look at how many teams he's played for, but he is your true definition of a backup quarterback. My only thing with Chase Daniel that is different than the others is I'd have to look into it more, but I don't believe he's played in a playoff game or has that experience. But I know with the Kansas City Chiefs, he just came in a Week 16 situation and won that game when the Kansas City Chiefs had to rest their starters. So that is very crucial that he can still come in and win games when you need to. And that's what I'm truly focusing on in these type of videos, is someone who could come in and bring that leadership mentality as well too. I don't want to slight Shane Buechele whatsoever here, because these guys will be in a competition with Shane Buechele. So it gives someone for Shane Buechele to basically pick their brains too and make him better. And then if Buechele wins that, it's a learning experience that he gets to be the backup quarterback number 2, and he gets to pick some of the minds of these guys like a Chase Daniel, a Case Keenum, or a Joe Flacco. If the Kansas City Chiefs choose to go in that direction, I do believe the Kansas City Chiefs will bring a veteran presence, not just for Patrick Mahomes, but also for guys like Shane Buechele to make sure he takes that next leap into his career to assure him being a backup quarterback in this league. Now, my final guy I'm going to mention on this list, and I know I said 5, but I included Buechele. We were looking at 4 quarterbacks here. The final guy I'm going to be talking is Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy Bridgewater. I think he'd be a perfect backup quarterback. He is a guy who has shown exponential talent in this league, and with the unfortunate injury with the Minnesota Vikings, who knows where his career could have went off. But he seems like that perfect backup quarterback that you could plug in and win games as well. My only thing with Teddy Bridgewater is, does he fit the Kansas City Chiefs as a backup quarterback role? And I don't know, but he does intrigue me, where I would feel like it would be a good camp battle with Buechele. And I feel like he can bring positive input into the locker room as well. And if the Kansas City Chiefs decided to go with the veteran presence, I think Teddy Bridgewater fits that role perfectly. Again, like I said, these guys are the guys you would bring in on 1-year deals and hope that they bring a positive impact. And if the Kansas City Chiefs decide to go that route, that they got that experience, that they got the veteran back there just in case anything happens. And if all else fails with that, they had a positive input on Shane Buechele. And also, I want to focus on Shane Buechele in this aspect as well. The Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, in my perspective, that they're trying to build Shane Buechele enough to where he has trade value and where Kansas City can get something back. Not saying that it'll be this year, but when he proves he's a valuable backup quarterback, someone might trade a sixth round pick for Shane Buechele. We already seen last year or years prior where the Arizona Cardinals tried to nab him off waivers, and that's why the Kansas City Chiefs kept Shane Buechele on the active roster. So the Chiefs believe they have value there, and they believe they might be able to get something from him in the future, and it might help Shane Buechele to learn from veterans and be in this offensive-minded league and be behind a guy like Patrick Mahomes. That way, maybe one day he will be a starter in this league. Shoot, if he was on the Arizona Cardinals, he might have played last year. So the Kansas City Chiefs know what they got, and they know they don't want to get rid of it, but they know if they can get assets out of it, that would be a very huge positive for both the Kansas City Chiefs and Shane Buechele moving forward. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, I'm going to close this video out. Let me know how you feel about my list of backup quarterbacks. Let me know how you feel about Shane Buechele moving forward. We entered uncharted territory because the Chiefs never need to focus on a quarterback. This is a different year, though. They need a backup quarterback. Is Shane Buechele their guy, or do they need to go in the free agency and get a veteran guy? Jump in the comments down below. Let's discuss. But before you do, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Give me that big thumbs up if you like this video. I'm checking out. Y'all take care.